Good morning from Mysore. Here I am in the august presence of General Sudhir Vombatkere, Vishesh Seva Medal, retired from the Madras Sappers and Miners after several years of distinguished service. And he is now 82, he doesn't look it, of course. And I'll be asking him some very interesting questions because, well, actually, I'm meeting him again after a gap of some 20 odd years. And I was very keen to meet him because very recently I heard that he had filed a case a petition in the Supreme Court against the laws of sedition. So, sir, with your permission, may I begin with that? Uh, what motivated you to file this a petition in the Supreme Court against the law of sedition?
You see, I have been, after retirement, I have been working with people's movements because during my service I had seen, I have been all over the country during my 35 years in uniform. And all over the country I have been noticing people and how they live and what they do. And I found that there were a lot of problems among people, and I decided to join people's movements after I retired. And in that, I noticed that when people objected to or dissented from government decisions right from 90s, the late 90s of the last century, I found that the state, that is the governments, state and central governments, were taking action against these people, including in the state of Tamil Nadu, in the Kudan movement, filing charges of sedition against them and waging war against the state.
And what were they doing?
They were only objecting to the nuclear power plant which was being constructed in Kudankulam, saying it is a threat to their health and to their lands.
Fair enough.
So that is how I took up the case on seditions, because I found it very unfair that a very serious case of sedition should be put against people who are only claiming their own rights.
Yeah. So the first time I met you, and that was the last time I met you, was when you came to Kanpur over 20 years ago in the company of Vombatkere. Aren't you all poles apart, Fauji, a major general, and a person who wears an ordinary cotton sari and chappals and going from place to place with a small cloth bag?
Yes.
What drew you to Vombatkere or to each other?
No, I was, although I was in uniform and retired as a major general, my mind has always been with the people. Even though I was in service and commanding troops, including in war, it doesn't mean that one ceases to be a citizen and understand what citizenship means. So I am not different from Vombatkere, except that she's far more dedicated, and she's an icon. As far as I'm concerned, she's an icon of Gandhism. Beautiful. In our country, probably the only surviving icon of Gandhism in our country.
In its true sense, not just wearing khaddar.
Yes, absolutely. So there is really, we are both citizens, but she's a far superior citizen. That's it.
Okay, sir, there are some very controversial issues arising now regarding the defense services of the armed forces. Now, one of the very contentious issues today is that of the Agni-Veer system. How do you see this panning out in the future, and what could be, is it just to save the money on pensions that the government has entered into this Agni-Veer scheme?
The Agni-Veer scheme, I think, has been made, as you rightly said, for saving money on pensions, because these young men and now women also are going to be taken on for 4 years, and after the end of 4 years, 75% of them are going to be back where they came from, and only 25%, hopefully, if they are fit, will be absorbed into service. Yeah. So that was the purpose of the scheme, but it failed to take into account the ethos of the service. Now, if you take, for example, a patrol, an infantry patrol, the 7, 10, 20 men who may be on patrol, they have got to have implicit trust in each other that they will be professionally capable, and they will not, because of lack of training, they'll not let down the other guy.
Or even run away.
Or even run away. But the point here is an Agniveer is not trained in battle. So after he has done 4 years as an Agniveer, where he is not really fully trained like a normal Jawan in the old system of training would have been, he will not fit very well into the say a patrol, into the normal rigors of service in the army.
Yeah.
It's also there in the Navy and the Air Force, but in a different way.
Yeah, but it's more marked in the army, definitely.
Definitely, because we are more personnel oriented.
Yeah. And so there's also this apprehension that after 4 years you will be releasing thousands or hundreds of thousands of young men who are weapon skilled, who know how to use weapons. Could this affect society in general?
Yes, in fact, they would, all over the world today, there are mercenaries being used.
Wagner.
Wagner in Russia and in many other places. And recently I have heard that Nepali Gurkhas are being taken and they are fighting for Ukraine as well as for Russia. So,
from both sides of the divide.
Both sides. So these Agniveers who are discharged after 4 years, because they are not found to be fit. Yes, they have got, they know how to use weapons, and they will be a credible force for hire by anyone who's got money.
Okay.
So that's a very dangerous thing.
Yeah.
It can be for political purposes, it can be for mercenary use, for military use, and it's not a good thing.
Yeah. And in fact, we have heard that even Israel is looking at mercenary fighters at this stage.
I haven't heard about that.
There was something to that effect.
It's quite possible.
Yeah, in the news. There's one little more thing which I'll take your time about, and that is another very contentious issue is that the government is asking soldiers who are going on leave, during that leave of say 2 months or 3 months which they get after being on the border and separated from their family for years, maybe 2 years, and they're going home for 2 or 3 months, and then now you're asking them to do social work to propagate government schemes, make videos of the same and submit it to your commanding officer. What do you say of this, sir?
I think it's very poorly understood by government on how Jawans live and work, and that they are in very difficult situations during service, and they deserve their leave which they get away from their families, and they're required to look after all the works which need to be done during their service, during their leave period, all like land problems and many other problems.
They have to sort out documentation, go to the courts, go to the tehsil, reap the harvest, see to their children's admission in schools.
All those things are to be done, and
in that very small window of 2 months.
Even that period is not really sufficient for them, and if within that they have got to do this thing and compulsorily do this thing, it's very unfair. It's a very strong word. It's very, very unfair on Jawans particularly to impose this kind of duty on them during their hard-earned leave period.
Thank you very much, General Vombatkere. It was a pleasure meeting you again and talking to you, and I hope your message will go far and wide. Thank you very much. To all my subscribers, please like, comment, share, and press the bell icon. Thank you. Jai Hind. Of course, Jai Hind. I always end with Jai Hind myself.